David Mendez was a seasoned firefighter with nerves of steel until one blazing night changed everything. Trapped in a collapsing house, he took his final breath and crossed into a realm beyond time. What he saw there wasn't just light, it was truth. A life review unlike anything imagined. He felt every joy he gave, every pain he caused. And then, he was shown the one thing that truly matters. This is the near-death experience that will shake your soul.
My name is David Mendez. I'm 38 years old, a firefighter based in San Diego. I've been doing this job for over 15 years, and I've seen more fire than most people could imagine. On the side, I mentor at-risk teens at a local youth center. I've always believed in second chances for buildings and for people. The night it happened started like any other shift. A call came in just after 2 a.m. residential fire, two-story home, reports of people trapped inside. We rushed over. By the time we arrived, smoke was pouring from the windows, flames licking up the side walls like fingers trying to grab the roof. I tightened my gear and went in. I've been in a lot of fires. This one felt different, hotter, heavier. I was on the second floor when I heard a loud crack beneath me. The floor gave a little. I radioed my partner, said I was heading back down. That's when I saw her, a little girl, maybe 6 or 7, standing in the hallway. Frozen. Smoke everywhere. I scooped her up, covered her mouth, and started moving fast. But the heat was rising fast too. The stairs were gone, collapsed into a burning mess. My lungs began to tighten. I turned to find another way, but the smoke was too thick. My mask alarm started beeping. I could barely see. I found a window, kicked it open. I handed the girl to a firefighter on the ladder. She was safe. That was the last thing I did right. I turned back, looking for my exit. That's when it hit me. A rush of heat. Then blackness. My knees buckled. I dropped to the floor. I tried to breathe, but it was like sucking in fire. My chest locked up. My head spun. I couldn't move. The last sound I heard was the crackling of the fire, then my own heartbeat slowing down. The fear was loud at first: panic, regret, helplessness. But then, something shifted. Everything got quiet. The weight left my body. And in the silence, I felt still. Not dead. Just still. Like I was floating in warm water, eyes closed. I wasn't in the fire anymore. I was somewhere else. At first, I didn't even know I had left my body. I just remember the weight being gone. One second I was choking on smoke, the next I was light, so light I didn't feel anything. No pain, no heat, no fear. I opened my eyes, but what I saw didn't make sense. I was above the fire. Floating. Below me, the roof was caving in, flames bursting through the windows. I saw the fire truck parked outside, red lights spinning. My team was there yelling, running, working fast. And then I saw myself. Lying still on the ground, just inside the doorway. I stared at my own body, gear scorched, helmet cracked, face pale. Someone was pulling me out. Another was starting CPR. I floated closer. I tried to shout, "I'm here," but nothing came out. I tried to wave, to move, but my hands didn't exist. I had no hands. No weight. I was just there. Watching. I saw my captain kneel next to me. He looked scared. I'd never seen that look on his face before. They cut open my jacket. Checked my pulse. Nothing. I kept trying to scream, but it was like my voice had been left behind with my body. Then everything slowed down. Time stretched out like rubber. The sound faded. I could see the steam rising from the wet grass. I saw the reflection of the flames dancing in someone's eyes. Everything was sharp, detailed, but still. Like the world was holding its breath. Then came the pull. It didn't hurt. It wasn't sudden. It was like a current in the ocean grabbing my legs and slowly drawing me out to sea. I started moving backward, upward, away. Away from the street. Away from the fire. Away from my life. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't thinking much at all. Just a quiet knowing that something bigger was happening. The world I knew was slipping away. San Diego, firefighting, the youth center, my friends, my body, they all faded like mist. And I surrendered. Whatever was next, I wasn't fighting it. I was just going with it. And somewhere deep inside, I knew I had crossed over. I don't know how long I drifted. Time didn't seem to exist anymore. It wasn't like being in a dream, and it wasn't like being awake either. It was something in between, a place without edges. Then the darkness around me began to change. At first, I saw a faint glow in the distance. It grew slowly, like the sun rising after a long night. The closer I got, the warmer I felt, not just on the outside, but deep within me, like the light was soaking into my soul. There was no sound, yet it wasn't silent. The light had a hum to it, a kind of quiet music that didn't come through my ears, it came through my heart. I moved without walking, drawn toward it not by force, but by love. When I entered the light, I didn't feel overwhelmed. I felt known. Completely, absolutely known. Every part of me, my strengths, my failures, my doubts, my dreams, all of it was laid bare. But instead of feeling judged, I felt wrapped in acceptance. It was like stepping into the arms of someone who had loved me since the beginning of time. I didn't see a face. There was no man in a robe, no glowing angel, no figure I could point to. But there was a presence. Strong. Gentle. Infinite. I didn't need to ask who it was. I just knew, this was the source. Maybe God. Maybe my higher self. Maybe both. But whatever it was pure love. Unshakable, unearned, unconditional love. I didn't feel like David anymore. I didn't feel like a man or a firefighter or a mentor. I wasn't a role. I wasn't a name. I was just me. A soul. A spark. A part of something much greater. The light wasn't around me, it was in me. I was part of it, and it was part of me. There was no separation. All my questions about life, about death, about what really matters, they didn't get answered with words. They got answered with peace. Total, complete peace. And just when I thought it couldn't get deeper, the presence spoke, not with a voice, but with a knowing. It said, "Now, let's look at your life." When the presence said, "Now we will look at your life," I didn't feel fear. I felt curious, maybe even a little nervous, like a student about to get back a final exam. But there was no sense of punishment. Just calm. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. I agreed, silently. And then, without warning, everything around me shifted. It was like a curtain was pulled back, and suddenly I could see my entire life not just in pieces, but as a whole. Every moment was there, floating in light. I wasn't looking at it from a distance, either. I was inside it. I was living it all over again. It began at my birth. I saw my mother holding me, tears in her eyes. I felt her love wash over me. Then came my first steps, my first words, moments I didn't even remember, yet here they were, as clear as day. The strange part was, I wasn't just watching. I was feeling. I felt what others felt when I spoke to them, hugged them, hurt them, helped them. The emotions were real, raw, and full. The presence stayed with me, silent but steady. I didn't feel judged, not once. I felt seen. As the scenes played out, time didn't seem to move forward. Everything existed at once, like a huge web of choices, moments, and ripple effects. I saw how one small act of kindness could echo for years in someone else's life. I also saw how a careless word could wound deeper than I ever knew. It wasn't fast. It wasn't slow. It was perfect. I felt humbled. Not ashamed, not proud, just awake. This wasn't a test. It was truth. And it was only just beginning. I was 7 years old again. I watched myself sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed, scowling at my mom. She had just told me I couldn't go outside until I finished my homework. I remembered this day. I remembered how angry I was. I yelled something sharp. I don't even remember the words, but I felt proud in that moment, like I'd won. But now I was seeing it from another view. I was inside her, feeling her heart break. She didn't yell back. She didn't even answer. She turned around, slowly, and pretended to clean the counter. But I felt the pain deep, quiet, and heavy. She had just gotten home from work. Her feet hurt. Her head hurt. And the one person she poured her life into had just pushed her away. I felt her hold back tears. She didn't cry where I could see. She waited until she was alone. I had no idea back then. I never knew. But in this moment, I felt every ounce of it. It hit me like a punch to the chest. Scene after scene unfolded from my childhood. I saw times I was kind, helping a kid at school who got bullied, giving my teacher a flower I found in the field. But the ones that cut the deepest were the ones I never thought twice about. Moments when I ignored someone. Moments when I lied. Moments when I made someone feel small. Each time, I felt both sides, mine and theirs. I saw the fear I caused, the sadness, even the confusion when someone didn't know why I was being mean. I wasn't a bad kid. I was just a kid. But I never realized how powerful my actions were, even back then. The presence beside me didn't say a word, but I felt its love, constant, strong. It wasn't pointing a finger. It was simply holding up a mirror. And for the first time in my existence, I understood something simple and unforgettable: every word we say, every choice we make, it lives in someone else's heart long after we forget it. And now, I couldn't forget it. After the heavy wave of childhood moments passed, the review shifted. The tone changed. I could feel it lighter, warmer. Like a breeze coming in after a storm. Now I was watching moments I had completely forgotten. Small, simple moments. I was in 6th grade, sitting next to a kid named Jordan. His clothes were worn, and he never had lunch. One day I had a few extra dollars from mowing lawns, so I bought him a sandwich from the vending machine. I remembered feeling awkward handing it to him, like I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But now I saw it differently. I saw his face light up. I felt the relief in his stomach, the quiet thankfulness he didn't have words for. But what stunned me most was what happened after I saw him years later, in high school, buying lunch for someone else. The ripple had spread. Next, I saw myself as a teenager, sitting at a bus stop on a rainy day. A woman sat next to me, visibly upset. I didn't say much, just offered her my umbrella and sat with her quietly. She had just come from the hospital. Her father had died. I never knew. But in that silence, my presence gave her enough peace to breathe. Scene after scene, I watched these tiny acts, things I never counted, glow like lanterns in the darkness. A smile to a stranger. Helping someone carry groceries. Calling a friend who'd gone quiet. Each of these moments shimmered with light. Not just my light, but shared light, connection, kindness, love. And then I realized something that broke me open in the best way: the most important parts of my life weren't the promotions, the awards, or the titles. They were these. These quiet, forgettable moments. And I hadn't even known they mattered. But here, in this place of truth, they mattered more than anything. The presence beside me pulsed with joy. Not pride, not reward, just pure love. As if to say, you see, this is who you really are. And for the first time, I believed it. The light began to dim, not in a harsh way, but like clouds slowly drifting over the sun. I could feel it before I saw it. The shift. The next part of the review wasn't going to be easy. Now I was facing the things I didn't want to remember. I saw myself during arguments, moments of pride, selfishness, impatience. The first was small. I was in a store, rushing, and I snapped at a cashier who made a mistake. I barely looked up from my phone. But now I felt her heart sink. She had already been having a rough day, and my coldness pushed her even lower. Then came the deeper wounds. I saw myself with people I loved: my brother, my best friend, my ex-wife. Words I said, or didn't say. Times I walked away when I should have leaned in. Moments when I put myself first, even when others were hurting. The hardest one came from my marriage. We were standing in the kitchen. She was crying. I was silent. I had checked out months earlier, but I hadn't told her the truth. I let her beg for closeness while I built a wall. Now, in this review, I wasn't just watching it, I was her. I felt her confusion, her fear, the sinking feeling that she wasn't enough. I felt the ache in her chest when I turned away without saying goodbye. I felt the sting when I blamed her for things that were really mine to own. I dropped to my knees inside the memory. I sobbed. Not just for what I had done, but because I never really understood until now. I didn't know that my silence could feel like abandonment. I didn't know that being tired could feel like rejection. I didn't know that choosing distance could feel like betrayal. But now I did. There was no defense. No excuse. Only truth. And the presence beside me stayed. Still loving. Still near. Not saying a word, but holding space for the weight of what I'd done. And in that moment, I wasn't asking for forgiveness. I was just finally seeing the cost. I couldn't take it anymore. Kneeling there in the middle of the review, feeling the pain I had caused, the heartbreak, the shame, the loneliness I broke. All the strength I thought I had, all the ways I'd tried to be a good man, fell apart. I saw how careless I had been with people's hearts. How blind I was to their wounds. And I just said it, from the deepest part of me. I'm sorry. I didn't whisper it. I didn't think it. I cried it out loud. Not just for my ex-wife. For everyone. My mom. The kids I yelled at. The people I ignored. Even the strangers I hurt without knowing. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Please. I didn't know. And in that moment, everything changed. The heaviness lifted, like a window had been opened and the darkness blown away. A light so soft, so powerful filled the space. I couldn't see a source, but I felt it move through me. It entered every corner of my soul like warm water soaking dry earth. And then came the voice. Not loud. Not harsh. Just steady and kind. You were learning. 3 words. That's all it said. And somehow, those words healed something deep inside me. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel scolded. I felt held. Wrapped in a love I couldn't explain. A love that saw everything I'd done and still stayed. The memories didn't disappear. I still remembered the pain I caused. But now I saw it differently. I saw myself not as a failure, but as a soul growing. Learning. Trying. Falling. Getting back up. The presence let me weep. Let me feel the full weight of my regret and then help me stand up again. I was forgiven. Not because I earned it. But because love was always waiting to meet me there. The light shifted again, not back to my life, but outward. Bigger. Wider. The presence beside me guided me, without words, into what I can only call a vision. It felt like being lifted into space, but not the cold, empty kind. This was full alive. I saw Earth not like a globe, but like a living being. Breathing, pulsing. And around it, I saw waves of light and darkness. Moving, swirling, dancing through history. Then the presence showed me humanity. I saw war fields soaked in blood, faces twisted in anger and fear. I saw greed men building empires while others starved. I saw injustice, cruelty, selfishness, over and over again, in every era. It crushed me to see it all at once. I wanted to turn away, but the presence said, "Keep looking." And so I did. Then something changed. In the middle of all that pain, I saw a nurse holding a stranger's hand in their final moments. I saw a teacher staying late to tutor a child. I saw a father working 3 jobs to keep his kids fed. I saw a teenager giving his jacket to a homeless man. I saw millions of these quiet moments, acts of kindness, patience, love happening all around the world. Some were big. Most were small. But every single one sent out a ripple. One kind word from a stranger gave someone the strength not to end their life. One apology between siblings restored a broken family. One moment of forgiveness changed generations. And then I saw my own ripple. That sandwich I bought for Jordan in 6th grade. He grew up to be a social worker. He helped hundreds of families. One of those families had a daughter who became a therapist. She helped a boy who would one day become a father and love his children differently because of the healing she gave him. All from a sandwich. All from a moment of kindness. I stood there, overwhelmed, watching how everything was connected. Every action. Every word. Every choice. We're part of something much bigger than we know. And the presence said, "This is Earth's classroom. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to learn how to love." The vision faded, and I was back in the presence of that overwhelming light. It wasn't just around me now, it was inside me. I felt open, like my soul had no skin. Everything I had seen, the pain, the beauty, the ripple effects, it was all alive in me. Then the presence spoke again. Not with sound, but with complete knowing. "Do you understand now?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My heart did all the speaking. I nodded, not with a body, but with everything I was. "You came into the world to remember one thing," it said. And then the truth came, not in a sentence, not even in thoughts. It was like something was planted into my spirit. It bloomed instantly. Love is the only thing that lasts. Not the kind of love we toss around in casual words. Not love based on romance, agreement, or condition. But love that listens. Love that forgives. Love that lifts others when no one's watching. That's what we're made of. That's what we're meant to return to. I was shown how everything else, titles, money, power, appearance, it all fades. People chase those things, fight over them, define their worth by them. But when you leave this world, none of that follows you. The only thing that crosses over is love. How you made people feel. How gently you treated the hurting. How honest you were when it mattered most. How you listened, helped, healed, and gave. That's the record that lasts. And it's not about being perfect. It's about trying. Learning. Choosing love more often than not. Returning to it when you forget. Being humble enough to admit when you failed, and bold enough to try again. As this understanding poured through me, I felt weightless. Free. Not because I was being rewarded, but because I finally saw what mattered. I finally understood what life was all about. It wasn't about doing something impressive. It was about becoming someone loving. That's the meaning. That's why we're here. I thought I would stay there forever. The peace was so full, the love so complete, I didn't want to leave. Everything I had ever searched for was there in that light, in that knowing. It felt like home in the deepest sense of the word. But the presence gently stirred the stillness. You must go back. I didn't want to. I truly didn't. I said nothing, but inside me, there was a cry, please, let me stay. But the presence was kind and clear. It is not your time. You have more to do. I didn't feel punished. I felt trusted. You've seen. Now help others see. Help them remember. I knew exactly what it meant. My mission wasn't to preach or convince, it was to live in a way that reminded others of who they are. To love more freely. To forgive more quickly. To show others, through simple acts, that they mattered. The presence gave no detailed plan, no map. Just a sense of deep purpose. Like a fire placed inside my soul, gentle, but unshakable. Then the light began to fade. Not in a frightening way, but in a letting go, like a goodbye that isn't really goodbye. And I felt myself falling. Fast. There was no tunnel, no flash. Just gravity, weight, density. I felt heavy again. Thick. Pulled downward. My soul shrinking to fit back into something too small. Then pain. My chest ached. My skin burned. There were voices. Shouting. I felt cold air. My eyelids fluttered. And suddenly I was back. Back in my body. Back in the ambulance. Back in the world that had always felt so real, and now felt so fragile. I couldn't speak at first. I couldn't even move. But inside, I was wide awake. I had returned with a fire in my chest and a message in my bones: you are loved. You matter more than you know. And if you're still here, it means your story isn't over. Neither is mine. I woke up in the hospital, confused and heavy. Everything was blurry. My throat burned. My chest ached like it had been ripped open and stitched back together. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move much. But I was alive. And I knew I had come back different. At first, the doctors and nurses were just relieved I survived. They said it was a miracle I made it out of the fire at all. My lungs were damaged. My body was weak. I spent weeks recovering. But something deeper had shifted, something no scan could detect. I wasn't afraid of death anymore. And I wasn't chasing the same things I had before. All I could think about was love. Real love. Not just saying, I care, but living it. Showing it. Giving it, even when it's hard. When I was finally strong enough, I left the hospital. I stepped into the sunlight with new eyes. I heard the wind in the trees like it was whispering truth. I saw people walking by, and each one felt important, precious. I smiled more. I listened more. I forgave people I had held things against for years. And I started sharing what happened. At first, it was just with close friends. Then with the teens I mentored at the youth center. Then at schools, churches, even community events. Not to impress anyone. Just to tell them what I saw, that this life matters. That we're here to love. People listened. Some cried. Some laughed nervously. But over and over again, someone would come up after and whisper, I needed to hear that. I tell them what I learned: every word, every action carries weight. Titles and trophies don't follow you into the next world. But love does. Kindness does. Forgiveness does. That's what lasts. So now, that's what I live for. Not perfection. Just love. The kind that sees people. The kind that reaches out. The kind that keeps giving, even when no one notices. I died in a fire. But I came back with a light. And I'll spend the rest of my life keeping it lit for others, and for the world that so badly needs it.